Hope you're doing well. Sunday morning live. Switching things up. It's been a crazy couple weeks and months. Hope you're doing well. We're going to answer some fun questions. A little bit of a different tea setup today. Hope you all doing well. Put in the comments below what you're drinking. First time to the channel. Awesome. Welcome. My name is Jeffrey McIntosh. I predominantly focus just on pu'er tea on this channel. So we do deep dives into pu'er tea, everything related to pu'er tea, particularly higher quality old tree material, how we understand it, and how we can find some, how can we enjoy it, how can we have all these teas reach their optimal potential, best potential, right? So welcome, hope you're doing well. We post a new educational video on the 1st of every month, so another one coming up here shortly. And then we do one public live stream a month where we just kind of dive into all the questions you might have to answer or ask. You can post those questions on my Patreon, on my YouTube channel, etc. So we have some questions around quality. I also, a little bit later in the video, I want to touch on some of the best ways to brew a single cup of tea. Today is definitely more casual. That's what we do on these Sunday live streams, I guess, more casual style. So drop in the comments what you're drinking, what you're doing this morning, and we will get into it. Some of the folks that did get some of the Vietnamese tea, would love your feedback. Let me know how you like that tea. I'm thinking if I should get some more next year. I particularly like her yellow teas, white teas, and now I'm very interested in her yellow tea that has a dot, which we didn't send out to anyone because I only have one bag. I've been drinking this tea a lot. I've actually been reaching for this tea more than I thought. Even when I'm craving raw pour, I was reaching to this more often, which kind of blew my mind. That's the first time I've done that in many, many years. But we don't even know if she can produce this tea anymore, so we'll see how that goes. Let me know your thoughts. One patron said, I just had the Vietnamese white tea. Interesting how much it resembles Shang Pur in the aroma. I'm glad you picked it up. That's one of the reasons why I took a liking to these older tea tree Vietnam teas. They're probably some of the better Vietnamese, probably the best Vietnamese teas I've ever had. Taste-wise, nothing like white tea I've had. More like Gushu Mao Cha in the taste with the oily mouth coat lingering. Definitely could agree with that. And I also noticed some of these teas, because they do some processing, they aren't as, I want to be careful how I use this word, aggressive, but they aren't as, like when I don't want to drink raw pour usually on an empty stomach or if I haven't eaten a lot. But I notice I can drink these Vietnamese teas on an empty stomach or if I haven't eaten a lot, which is, you know, that has its place. Sometimes we want tea and we haven't eaten a big meal. Sometimes we want a raw pour. So, questions, drop them in the comments. The first ones I want to get into, I'm going to drink my breakfast before I get into my tea. One of them is, how do I identify pu'er freshness? So, it'd be great to get a little bit more clarification on what do you mean by fresh. Do you mean how old the tea is after it's been picked? I'm assuming that's what it is. I see the color of the soup is supposedly fresh strung is to be different. Some are clear, some are green, and some are very orange. So it's weird. I don't think I've gotten that question. Because I guess you're saying if you're drinking a new young pour, it would be nice to know if this tea was just picked and pressed a few months ago. Is it a year old? Is it 2 years old? Is it 3 years old? Let me know if I'm off the mark there. Well, there's a few things. I don't know if I've released the water vapor video yet. If I haven't, that'll probably be the next one I release. But when a tea is very, very, very fresh or young, it's just been picked and pressed, we know there's water vapor, which means that a lot of the taste profile is maybe held back, or it's trying to break above this glass ceiling to release its full kind of flavor potential. And the tea itself will be relatively light. You wouldn't really see orange color. You wouldn't see any type of darkening color. Usually it would be very, very light, almost light yellow, light green, but it shouldn't have any kind of darker hues, because that would be a strong indication that maybe the tea was aged. If there is a darker hue and you believe this tea is new, then there might be concern that maybe there was some slight post-fermentation or adulteration of the tea to have that tea have a more aromatic quality to it. In my fake pour video, I talked about there was a technique of taking some of the Maocha, doing almost like a black tea process, right? Accelerating that fermentation process, but not like ripe, but more like black tea, and then blending that in with raw tea. And if they did any type of technique like that, some additional processing or withering or fermentation, you might get a darker hue. But usually, young, fresh, raw pour would be very clear. Clear is always very important, translucent, right? Maybe yellow, green type of characteristic, but I wouldn't see any dark or orange hue characteristics in young raw. So hopefully that helps. Does pour go stale? This is a fun question. It really depends on the type of pour, but I'll get into that. And what he meant by stale, he's meaning no taste, no aroma, totally bland, even with increased humidity. So I'm going to jump back. Before I answer that, I'm going to jump back onto the chat here. We got Luke drinking some Jinju Mei, wonderful little black, tasty black tea, small buzz, tasty stuff. Yeah, definitely make it yearly available. All right, well, Bimini's team may be making it yearly available. Luke, welcome to the live stream. John Peng, welcome to the live stream as well. It's an early one. I'm liking these early ones. I'm sorry it's been so busy. I used to have a very consistent live stream schedule, but now we have those once a month videos that are more consistent. So, alrighty. Does pour go stale? So, if it's true pour, it should not go stale. So I'm just going to focus on that first, and then we're going to go into other types of things. Pour tea, picked, sun-dried, right? Maybe a very, very, very quick type of killing process, but they're going to keep those enzymes alive, right? They don't want to kill anything. They don't want to do a green, white, oolong, black tea process, which is all about the aroma, all about the processing, and then they want to press it into cakes. And usually, if they do it correctly, pour from small bushes doesn't smell so good. It's a little bit harsh. So you need to age it longer. Only pour from old tea trees can do the correct process, pick sun-dried, very, very light, quick kill-green process, keep that tea alive, press it, can have a very beautiful aroma. But a lot of people have caught on to that, and they realized, maybe we need to change something so we can sell more of this smaller bush tea. We'll save that for a moment. If you have tea that's been correctly processed and you press it into a cake, because it has alive, it has live organisms in it, it's going through the beneficial fermentation process, there's live cultures, bacteria in this tea, it's going to develop in some way or another. If you put it in a human environment, it's going to accelerate the aging process. Okay? So maybe it'll get darker faster. Maybe it'll enhance the aroma and the taste profile faster. But it's doing it at such a fast pace, you might start to lose some of the personality of the tea. When I mean personality, I mean a regional taste, mountain taste. Right? The very unique aspect of that particular region might be lost because it's being overly compensated with this humidity. It's becoming very dark, very rich. It's still going to be very good tea. Now, Vesper Chan kind of became famous. I'm sure other people did it, but Vesper Chan made it famous, of dry storage. So same concept, aging the tea, but without a lot of humidity. And what he noticed was the tea ages slower, but it keeps its personality. It keeps its regional taste. It keeps its mountain taste. And it usually fetches a higher price. If you can get good dry storage pour, it fetches a higher price. But it ages so much slower. But it keeps the personality of the tea. Pour tea should never go stale. Now, pour tea can go off. Maybe way too much humidity and mildew starts to build up. Maybe you keep it into way too much of a cold environment and something bad might happen to the tea. Maybe another type of mold. But when we move into stale pour, which unfortunately is more common than it has been before, Because sometimes you'll purchase a pour tea that might be pretty good the first year. But after a year, after 2, after 3, after 4, you feel like it's not, I've talked about this before. You want a pour tea to develop, right, over time, right, developing over time. You don't want it to be bitter and nasty and hoping to mellow out over time. This is not a good trajectory for your tea, right? And so if tea has a kilning process in the first year, where they do a lot of heat, they keep it on there a long time, essentially making green tea, so it's not alive anymore, it can't benefit from that post-fermentation, from that aging process, essentially making green tea, right? It has nothing to work with to age, but maybe that tea is very aromatic. It's so tasty the first year, so sweet. Maybe a tea that's otherwise not so good, process it like green tea, can sell a higher price. Now, that tea is no longer pour. It's green tea. Because they did a very heavy, long kilning process that killed everything in it to have very nice aroma, very nice color, very good taste the first year. Well, that tea can't age. And what will happen over time with that pour, even they put it in a tea cake, etc., might taste very good that year. People talk about it a lot. The tea won't develop. As the time goes by, you'll notice in the first 3 months, there's not a lot of change. That's why I talk about water vapor. It's very important that the tea has a big change after 3 months because the tea is waking up, it's developing, and there's another big change after a year. Those are important milestones for pour. If your tea isn't having those milestones, maybe just getting a little bit weaker, not as aromatic, not as sweet, the taste profile is going down, you can't steep it as long, the color's getting more and more kind of stale, the tea leaves don't look alive, they're kind of dry and dead, that tea will go stale. And there's a lot of pour tea like that. So, and those teas will never improve. They'll never get better. They probably will only get worse. They'll probably get more and more mellow, and they will not increase in value, and they will not increase in taste. And those teas will stale, but then are they really poor? Who knows? But everyone classifies them and sells them as poor. And this is actually a very big issue in the pour industry. And whether it's right or wrong is a different discussion because many people aren't aware of what's going on and why this is happening. Because if you go to a tea mountain, and a good quality matcha is very hard to find. Good quality matcha from old tea trees is very, very expensive, and it's very, very scarce. So you have all these people going to the mountains, and farmers wanting to sell their tea, and people not wanting to pay high prices. Well, the good quality ancient arbor tea will go to people that are wealthy, that are educated and knowledgeable about that tea, that really want to get that tea and willing to pay the price for it. And then a lot of people that want to get good quality tea, and they go to China and they have these incredible stories and they want to share that experience back home or sell it with their companies. Maybe they're going to look for a tea that tastes very good, and when they do drink it, it does taste very good. But if they aren't aware of how that tea was processed, there's a risk involved. So correctly, traditionally processed pour should not stale. The only reason it would go bad is improper storage, too much humidity, too cold, etc. That would be the only reason it goes bad. And then you have tea that was maybe incorrectly processed, or maybe I should say modernly processed, where it's more like green tea, and it's not the traditional process. Those teas risk staling. And you want to be very careful. It's unfortunately a very large issue in the pour industry right now because it's a lot easier to sell really not so good matcha, do a increased kill green, make it like green tea, make it really aromatic, beautiful color, beautiful taste, and they can sell more of it at a higher price that year that otherwise maybe would be very difficult or could not sell at a higher price. So that would be my interpretation of stale pour. Well, I love the black version of the kettle. I store my Lucy in plastic bags, which I know is bad. What is your Lucy? Curious. Also, Fellow. Talking about Fellow for a moment. Because now I have the 2 Convoy blacks. I have one in the office, one in my kitchen, and then I have this one in my little tea room. They have this new kettle, the Kettle Pro or something Plus that just came out. It almost looks the same, except the base is metal. That's kind of a nice touch. But is it really worth an extra, $100 or something? I don't know. And they have all these fancy features and a colored LED screen and all with your app. I don't know. I just really don't like tech going into my tea space. Might just be me. But yeah, I love Fellow Kettles. The newer one, I was excited for it, but then I realized it hadn't changed much. I do like the metal base. I don't think that's enough reason for me to buy it. But yeah, stop bringing tech into my kettles. But I guess that's where the world is. Everyone likes tech. Tech everything, right? Alrighty, we got one more question here, which is going to be a doozy. And then I'm going to show you all. How I've been making the perfect cup, 8, 12-ounce cup of pour tea, particularly pour, raw pour. How do you make that so tasty when you don't want to do the whole tea setup? I know this is very strange, but sometimes I drink tea like this. I know, it's hard. But I've gotten pretty good at it, and I want to share that with you because it's life-changing. No wonder some brands don't have some old series for sale, constantly advertising their products as flowed out. Oh, Aku. Oh man. So glad you pay attention to this. A lot of people don't. When I talk about investing in pour, which I do not recommend. When I talk about purchasing large quantities of tea, which I do not recommend. But if you're going to go down that threshold, what I tell people is, does the company you're buying from have a few things? One, do they have old teas that have consistently increased in price year after year? It's a very good sign. The second important kind of complementary aspect to that is, does that brand have other companies on the secondary market? That could be wholesalers, that could be retailers, that could be independent pour tea purveyors, or other companies selling that brand teas at a higher price than they originally sold it at. Very important. If they can have those characteristics, very good sign. Like, huge good sign. Green light, right? But that is very rare. Also, the idea that if pour tea, good quality pour tea, appreciates in value, if that's truly the case, why would a vendor or store be incentivized to put the tea on sale after a year or two? Green teas, oolong teas, black teas, white teas. That is the correct business model, because white teas, green teas, black teas, they go stale, they go bad. You gotta drink them when they're fresh. They're so tasty, right? But pour is a different business model. And if you truly understand that business model, you should understand that they actually appreciate in value over time. So if I have a pour tea from this year's season, what I would probably do is send out an email at the end of the year and say, hey, all clients and customers, if you really like this tea, I just want to let you all know that we are doing our annual price increase. So if you really like these teas, you should get these teas at these current prices, because the prices are going up in a month or two. Just wanted to be a courtesy, let my clients know they have some opportunity to purchase more of these teas if you like them. That's the business model of pour. And if you really understand high quality pour, it does appreciate in value. As a business owner, this is also an investment. You want your tea to appreciate in value, this asset to continue to grow, and you also want your teas to sell at a higher price if you truly have the confidence and understanding that those teas will develop. They will increase in value. They will increase in complexity. And you also will understand the value of those teas. So that's a little tangent, but I really do like that because. But then there's also I don't want to completely, shed some light. Some business owners can only do so large productions, so they might actually be sold out. That might actually happen, especially if they can only do 30, 20 kilos. But if you're in the pour industry and you're thinking long term, you should really only be selling 20, 30, 40% of each year's harvest. Because you need to save 60%, 50% of each year's harvest and put it into storage for your own business sake. Because you need those teas to be stored and aged. So one, they can appreciate in value. Of course, you increase your profitability. But second, you can have some aged teas to educate your clients about what aged tea tastes like and how it changes and how it develops and what to look for. So when the new tea harvest comes, you can compare it to some of the older teas and have those on hand. That's a very important asset to educate your clients about pour. So you should be investing in your own inventory, saving your own inventory, at least 50%, if not more, and only selling small amounts on the new harvest because you know the tea will be far more valuable in a few years. You don't really want to sell it all out the first year. It's not very profitable. That's just something I've seen with some of the more successful business owners in China I work very closely with. It's a very common best practice with good quality pour tea companies, and something to take to heart. Yeah, I mean we could rant on the Western market a lot, but it's good and bad. Yeah, usually generic pour that sells to China goes to the West with big markup. It's not to say there isn't good tea in the West. It's just we just want to be careful. Whether we buy tea, I mean, China has a significant problem too. So does Malaysia. So does Southeast Asia with pour tea. So does Japan. Same issue in Japan as well. Korea, etc. There's huge pour tea shops everywhere. If it's good quality, who knows? We just want to really deeply think about scarce resource, old tree pour. A lot of very wealthy, educated people that are actively trying to find the best pour. And then we're over here thinking we can buy good pour tea from every vendor. So always want to think, is the person I'm buying pour tea, is it logical that they could find good quality tea? Does this individual, what is the likelihood that this tea is of high quality? Yes, Jeff, I love to visit producers who have similar region of various years for sampling, letting me know how the region aged over time. I mean, and even if you don't purchase tea, like think about your situation when you visit those vendors and they have those various years. So much credibility has been built with that vendor. And maybe you won't purchase tea this year, but maybe you will send someone back, or maybe you'll think about that, and maybe you'll come back to that vendor, maybe purchase tea from that vendor. So much credibility because now that vendor isn't just doing a transaction with you. They're helping provide education. That's massive value because these vendors and buyers, you're building a relationship. And if you just go there transactionally, you go visit, you buy some tea, they have nothing invested in you. They don't have a strong incentive to sell you the best quality tea. But if they are spending time with you and they are passionate and they want to educate you, but why would they want to spend time to educate you? Well, if they spend time to educate you, they're investing their time, they obviously want to bring you more value because if you truly understand the different types of quality, the different age profiles, the different years, well, maybe you can implement that same philosophy and educate your clients, educate the market, sell your teas at a higher price, and then you also can do the same practice of saving some teas and building them up, making everyone more profitable, right? Everyone more profitable, everyone more successful. So the whole concept of a vendor, this is funny, I never thought about this. I thought about this in like sales and client relations and those professionals that really need to ask more from those people. We need to have them provide us with massive value, right? Not just do what they said they would do, but go above and beyond. There's a great book called Unreasonable Hospitality I've been reading. Incredible. But why can't the vendors also do that? Bring some education, build a partnership, help us learn. It benefits everyone, right? So it's not just win-win. It's win-win-win. I learned this from a business coach. Win-win-win-win, right? The vendor wins, you win, your clients win, everyone wins because everyone's learning more, educating more, understanding more. It just helps everyone. Have you considered sampling set? I appreciate that. I should talk about adding massive value. I do pretty good in my career. Most of my massive value with pour comes from my live streams through experience and talking. But yes, educational set. I think about the educational set, and it just wouldn't be profitable. It would be like me trying to build my own company again. So I haven't done it yet. I don't know if I will do it. I guess I should post what the educational set would be, and then if people want to kind of go build it themselves, they can. Next year, if we do Vietnamese teas, we definitely will be doing bundled sets, because that'll be easy because I don't have to do that. I just inform her what to do, and then she would be able to compile those for me. The pour would be difficult because there would be 3 different vendors I need to pull from, and then I would need to break apart the teas, put them into sample packets, and am I saying I'm slightly lazy? Maybe. But that amount of time I spend, if I spent that in my career, would be a higher rate of return, drastically. Maybe. A lot of time involved. I will take that to heart. I will see if I can, if I'm willing to do that. Maybe I'll get someone to help me do that. Okay. I'll make sure that this next month, November, I will put together a patron post that if I were going to do a sample set, these are the teas I would include, the amounts I would include them, the price. Find out the response, how many people will be interested in doing that. And in the meantime, people can just source those teas themselves and make their own little sample pack. And then I'll work towards that. No promises. Yeah, really it was good to have. But I also realized nothing's free in this world. The air we breathe is not free. Everything's not free in this world. But yeah, we'll find a solution hopefully by next year. I do understand your point. Like I think it would be, if people come, it would be definitely be not exclusive to patrons. It would be a whole YouTube community. They can just like spend $100, get a good understanding of 3 different types of raw, 3 different types of ripe, a little bit of instructions. Maybe I'll link the YouTube videos of how to brew raw, how to brew ripe, how to brew aged tea, think of aged tea, old tree tea, all that stuff. Just learn about good quality tea, and that would be, a $100 class, basically. Hands-on class to learn really high quality tea. That's super cheap if you think about it. Yeah, I should probably just spend a week, make like 100 packs, and then just put them in the store, and then not have to worry about it. So, cool, we can talk about this. So I have a warehouse in Taiwan. And I have a lot of tea in there. And I have a lot of tea in Merced, California. When I ship tea from Taiwan, it's pretty expensive. You have to airship. And also those teas have increased in price. So when I purchased those teas last time, they were pretty affordable. And now they have gone up. I think the sale price is higher than what I was originally selling it at now. So we have to think about how that would do. But I should probably restock those teas. I should probably do an order from Taiwan, and then also my warehouse ship some of it. All right, probably not before the new year. Probably not before the holiday season, but I think we can get an order in here. Are there any teas you want to see? That might be more helpful. Any teas you want to see? All right, y'all. So while waiting on that, I'm going to show you how I've been making tea. I do this when I travel a lot. I'll bring a tea or two I would like. I'll use a coffee mug in the hotel room. I don't have my whole tea set, obviously. But there's a few things that can go wrong when you do grandpa style or whatever, 1 cup style, is depending on the tea, you might want to do a wash. So you have to think about that. Also, if you leave the tea in hot water too long, it gets bitter and tanniny, right? Uncomfortable to drink, too much caffeine. If you brew the water with too cold of water, you don't really get that raw pour feeling, that sensation that we crave when we drink pour tea. So, can't brew it too hot, can't brew it too cold, can't brew it too long. And then if you brew it too short, where are you going to put the leaves? I'm going to be filtering out the leaves, especially if I only have a few minutes. If I want to share tea with a few people, I want to be pouring these out, making a mess in my hotel room. So this is what I started to discover on my last trip that was very shockingly productive in brewing tea. I'm going to share with you all. So, some water that's lukewarm, room temperature. Preferably boiled or from a bottle if you're overseas. Like, so this is boiled water, but now I boiled it yesterday, so it's room temperature now. And you want to use the same water that you're boiling with, and the same water that's room temperature. You don't want to have two different waters, because then you get into a whole different issue. So same water, boil this up, right off the boil. Okay, let it set, of course, right, same temperature I would brew raw pour at. Right, so let it settle, don't want any more bubbles. Fill it up. I'm filling it up, I don't know, 3/4 of the way up. Okay. So this is a proper raw pour brewing, right? Correct temperature. I'm gonna sit there. I'm gonna sit there for like 20 seconds. Okay, because I want that. Because one, it's really important for raw pour to be steeped at a very high temperature to wake up the tea. But if we let this hot water sit with this tea for too long, it wouldn't taste good after a few minutes. Because the tea leaves and the water should not sit together too long. It's not beneficial for your health, it's not beneficial for anything. It's not beneficial for the taste profile. Maybe it's overly astringent, bitter, too rough, too caffeinated, all kinds of things. So now it's brewing. Then I take my warm temperature, lukewarm water, and I just fill in the other 1/4 of the cup. And what this does is it stops that intense heat. It drastically slows down the brewing process, and it prevents the tea from getting bitter or astringent or steeping too long. And I know this seems overly simple, but it's so tasty. I can't believe. And you can leave it in here. I usually leave it in there for another 30 minutes to a minute before I start drinking it. And I've successfully been able to leave this in here for 5, almost 10 minutes and have no adverse effects in the taste profile, the aroma, or anything. So really, that simple might drastically improve your 1 cup steeping method. Right? So hot water goes in, 3/4, just wait for 30 seconds. Let that brew do its thing with that hot temperature. Right? Then add in 1/4 room temperature water. Perfect. I'll make a whole video on this, but that was the grand finale, folks. Let me know if you tried it that way before. I've had a lot of really positive effects brewing tea this way, and I don't think I'll ever brew tea any other way now when I'm like traveling, because it's so tasty. And this is one tea I definitely want to carry in the future. This is the Mistun yellow tea, but dark, from exclusively older trees only. So 200 to 400-year-old trees only. There's no smoke in it. It's sweet. It's so tasty. I can't believe it. Well, folks, that's the live stream. Thank you again, John Payne, for continuing to remind me that I need to offer sample sets. Not promising anything, but I'll work on what it would include. People can build them themselves, get some response, and then folks on YouTube, like this video if you're watching now. Give it a like; it really does help. And then maybe we'll offer some sample sets to the YouTube community. But other than that, keep an eye out. 2 days from now will be the new YouTube video, and I'll give you all a sneak peek of what that is since we're all here. What is that video going to be? So I know I posted a few of them. I also have the Vietnam video I have to edit and post. Not tea related, but... Alright, so we posted... What did we post? We posted sharing tea with friends, 2 unknown tips for brewing tea. So I am going to post the water vapor, right? How to test new tea. Is it muted? 3 months water vapor deep dive will be posted on November 1st. Alright, y'all. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday here. And look forward to seeing you in my next video. Take care, y'all.